So we know a company's worth, its value, its stock value, is much greater than the underlying assets of the property or the equipment that they have. If you add all that up, there's another layer, and that's the brand equity, that intangible value that a company has. And for me, memes are like 100% brand equity. Meme equity is brand equity.
This episode is sponsored by Safe, the account abstraction leader on Ethereum. Avery, we're back. It was so great seeing you in Austin last week for Consensus. I want to talk about that. I think I saw you also just got back from Patau, and you're going to be heading to Cannes in about a week and a half. So much things happening on the event side that I thought it'd be good for us to break down all of that before we play one of our sessions from Consensus that I've been thinking about a lot. So first of all, you were there for a couple of days. Tell us your impressions of Consensus.
Sam, congrats to you, Wen, the whole CoinDesk team for absolutely crushing Consensus. I thought it was so well done, both from a production standpoint and attendee perspective. And of course, the thoughtful programming that Sam Yuen is known for. Just across the board, I really enjoyed it. Pleasantly surprised. This is my third or fourth Consensus. And as happens with crypto, excitement like waxes and wanes. And this was a time when there was so much excitement, so much positivity, so many people sort of building the space, all coalescing in Austin to exchange ideas, to network, to talk about the future of where this industry and this space is heading. So I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And the weather cooperated as well, which was nice.
We did have a couple of 5 a.m. rainstorms. I don't know if that woke you up, but I thought they were very, very poetic and picturesque. And I agree. I think this year we had a ton of optimism, energy. I think that we had some amazing conversations. I think one of the things that was one of the key themes, I'm actually writing my recap about this now, is that last year, in a moment where the market was more somber and maybe a little bit even more hesitant post FTX and all of that, the idea that people were still building, still trying, still figuring some stuff out, I think a lot of that paid off in this year. And,
Agreed.
We also had the benefit of the Bitcoin ETF, the ETH ETF coming, every presidential candidate now addressing crypto, which is kind of wild that was happening. I don't know if you saw the RFK Jr. session, but it was packed. And yeah, I think that people are feeling like this is a little bit more legitimized, I think, this year than we've ever had, which is kind of a wonderful thing to think about.
Wonderful thing. And, one thing that I observed is the last Consensus, there was still a lot of sort of digital collectible energy, a lot of NFT energy. This time it was very focused on the Bitcoin and sort of Ethereum progress, very focused on everyone launching their own chain of various formats. That was another big observation I had. And a lot more focused on sort of institutional versus consumer, at least from my perspective, than sort of the energy that I felt over the last couple of years. So it seemed to be much more infrastructure plays, a lot of interesting sort of conversations around building the path for the next millions, billions of users, less so focused on the immediacy of the consumer today, which I actually think is probably prudent and appropriate.
Absolutely. I had a conversation with Ben Leventhal, who we've interviewed before. And with Ben, there was something that he mentioned, which I thought was really interesting, which was his two lead investors were A16Z and Amex. And he said both of them have really long-term views on the possibilities for crypto. So hearing that from Ben in regards to thinking about it through the lens of A16Z, of course, makes sense. But Amex, that was a really interesting play for me to see happen. So I was, I was pretty excited to sort of think that that's how folks are thinking right now about their approach to crypto, which, he said, we're still not consumer grade today. We are going to be consumer grade at some point, and I'm just building for that moment, which I thought was really, really special.
Yeah, super smart. I mean, MasterCard also released their crypto credential, I believe, at Consensus, or they timed the release around then, which I think is another sort of indicator. Visa's done so much work in the space. You just mentioned Amex. MasterCard's doing a lot of stuff there too, especially focused on the Latin American audience, which I think there were quite a few international folks as well, which maybe I wasn't paying attention to that as much previously, but it seemed like there was a good international contingent, specifically from the sort of LATAM side of things. So it was good energy all around, Sam.
Absolutely. And Avery, I moderated a session on crypto IRL, and we had Shannon Ewing, who was at ETH Denver for many years.
Mm-hmm.
We had Paul Tao from FWB. They're having their third FWB Fest in August in LA, which I'm going to try to go to before VCon. We also had Dina from Boys Club, who also does a ton of events. And one of the things that we kind of talked about was this theme that how much sort of digital native people who are just like terminally online want to meet in person, and that so much work gets done when you actually can do that. And I know you were just at Patao from what your social media just showed me.
Yes.
And I know you're heading to Cannes. And so I'm just interested of like, your thoughts on just what it means for us as professionals to be able to gather, and how much more work and opportunity can get done just by frankly getting on a plane and meeting in the same place.
I think that there's that revenge travel thing that happened immediately following COVID, and we're still sort of feeling the effects of that. I think in business, really normalized even things like this, like everything is remote, it's Zoom, you can be anywhere. And I think that convenience has been amazing from a flexibility perspective, from a globalization perspective, but it also really makes people treasure in-person experiences a lot more because it's not as much of the norm as it previously was. So I feel like there's so much interest and also budgets going towards in-person experiences. It's really valuable. You're taking time, you're actually connecting. And we used to be always connecting in person. Now that we're not, it feels special, it feels deeper. And I think we can get a lot of business done that way. So Patao is a marketing organization, and they just recently did their annual summit in Deer Valley, Utah. And same kind of thing where like it's very rare to get, 200 executives like off their phones for 2 days straight. And it makes that experience feel really special. And it's a nice mix of business stuff and cultural stuff and inspirational stuff and a little bit of like, outdoor activities, et cetera. So that is something that I really enjoy and really appreciate, especially in that sort of smaller context. And then, of course, that's counterbalanced with massive things like Consensus and Cannes Lion and VCon that are thousands of people, which are a little bit more focused on sort of networking, speaking opportunities, broad-based appeal. But I think people are really into in-person events.
It's definitely having its moment, and the metaverse be damned. I mean, I think that there is no way to replicate this experience, even though I did see on Instagram yesterday that IKEA is looking for some metaverse store employees. So,
and they're paying them.
I know, $14 an hour or whatever is to hang out in the metaverse. Maybe we'll talk about that on another show. After the break, Avery, we're going to play a session that I helped to program, which is called Memes and Money. What I wanted to do is have some experts come on to talk about the idea of kind of financialization of culture. And is this a good thing? Like this last 2 weeks, we've seen Iggy Azalea drop a token. We saw Caitlyn Jenner drop a token. There was rumors last night that Hulk Hogan was dropping a token. And despite all of the past where regulatory structures would say maybe this isn't the best idea, celebs seem to be coming in to try to, capitalize on this. But we wanted to have a thoughtful conversation on what does it mean to financialize culture? Is it a good thing? And the idea of this like memetics as a language that we all use with each other. So we gathered Rhett Mankind. Rhett was the creator of the Turbo token, which had a great story last year because he used $69 in ChatGPT to do all of the work to create a token. Right now sits at about a $500 million market cap, but all community decisions were made around it. We had Chris Jacquemin from WME to talk about kind of what does it mean to be a personality, a celebrity, someone who, might have their likeness financialized without them, but also how they might use the tools. Liz Hagelthorn, who I want to get on the pod, who really is one of the like main meme queens, really had the largest meme network on Instagram for many, many years, really understands the sort of science and finances behind memes. And then we also had Derek Edwards from Collab Currency, who's an investor. So we kind of collaborated people who are on different sides of the meme discussion, and just a really fascinating talk. So we thought we would play that for this week's episode, and we will see you next week. Safe is enabling ownership for all with smart accounts. With over $100 billion in total value stored across over 14 networks, Safe accounts are embedded everywhere, including DeFi Saver, WorldCoin, Dracula app, and more. Build and use the most battle-tested smart account in Ethereum. Visit safe.global.
Hello, everybody. For those that were here earlier, you're stuck with me again on an entirely different topic, a very relevant topic for the market in the last couple months of memes and money and cultural tokenization, meme coins, all of those topics we hope to cover. We have fantastic panelists that all come with a slightly different perspective. I'll let them introduce themselves in a second. But we have Rhett, who's an artist and has launched his own, what we call it, a meme coin?
Yep.
His own meme coin.
Totally, yeah.
Chris, who comes from WME Endeavor, who's worked with a lot of artists and brands and celebrity and talent for decades now. Liz, who comes from the really native digital marketing side from helping creators build platforms and followings online. And then Derek from the investor side at Collab Currency. But I will have you guys introduce yourselves and explain a little bit more about what you've worked on involving this aspect of memes and money over your careers.
Sure, I'm Rhett Mankind. I've been a crypto artist in this space, but I'm here pretty much predominantly because I started a meme coin called Turbo Token, which I created by myself with the help of ChatGPT and a budget of $69, and it's now $500 million market cap. So that's probably why I'm here.
I'm Chris Jacquemin. I work at WME, as mentioned. We started getting into the Web3 space about 3 years ago on behalf of clients, really looking at things like membership programs, fan clubs, those sort of things as a way to imagine collectibles, extension of merch, essentially, for clients of ours across the space, mostly in music, a little bit on the sports side as well.
I'm Liz Hagelthorn. My background is in viral organic content. So I grew and ran the largest anonymous meme network on Instagram. I ran 127 meme pages and grew them to 300 million followers before selling it to a record label. Now I have my own platform called Smarter License, which does digital rights management and licensing for copyright and IP.
My name is Derek Edws. I run a fund called Collab Currency. Collab Currency is most well known as a consumer crypto investor. We've invested in deals all across the consumer crypto stack. We've done things like art projects like Art Blocks and Super Rare. We've done gaming like Axie Infinity and Parallel and Mona. We've done physical digital, things like IYK or 90cc. We like to think of ourselves as very agnostic to the way this technology is shaping towards consumer behavior, and we make early seed stage bets across the stack.
Amazing. So to kick us off, this will not be a panel about what meme coins to buy. A lot of people have been writing opinion pieces about meme coins. Are they good? Are they bad? What are they? And so just dig in initially at a little bit of a conceptual level. Memes and convergence around cultural ideas is definitely not new. You could argue Bitcoin started that way, US dollar, now we have more shorter market span versions of it. But from your experiences in doing what you're doing even before crypto, what are we even talking about here when we're talking about tokenizing culture?
Memes have value, right? We just now have a market and a way to put value, financialize and tokenize that value onto what that meme is. So people are launching memes every day, sharing them. Before a decade ago, it wasn't possible to value it in terms of financial way. My career was a branding designer for many years, and I would try and build that brand equity into a company. So trying to put that value onto something very intangible is, I think, a very new and interesting space that we're exploring right now.
Yeah, for me, it feels like it has a lot of parallels to different collectible markets that have existed for decades. Comic books, trading cards, sneakers, pogs. There's so many different things that I would point to historically as an aspect of culture that people wanted to collect, that represented something they were passionate about, a community that they wanted to belong to, something that they identified with. To me, what's different, and you just touched on it, is all of the tools that are available to do this direct to consumer and the speed with which it's able to happen. We've never seen anything like this before. We could sit here and come up with an idea for a meme coin, build the artwork, figure out what platform to put it onto, and you're off and running in a matter of minutes. It's wild. Back when I was a kid and I would notice different trading cards collectibles that I thought were interesting or things that could be collectibles, I didn't have the ability to go launch anything like that. It didn't exist. So I think the direct-to-consumer aspect and the speed of how the market moves feels very different today than it did back then.
Yeah, so for me, my answer is a little different because when you say like memes and money, I'm like, what money? There's no money in memes, but there's money in distribution. And what we're really talking about is formats that are incentivized by the different technology as distribution. For Instagram, Meme formats might look a certain way on TikTok. Meme formats look like sounds because there's discovery in crypto, which, Rhett, I want to have some questions for you. Memes might look like smart contracts that you can build on and remix and replicate. Good memes act like genes, and they also help you format your stories in a way that's quick and made for the tech that is the thing that people are giving their attention to. And then from there, you figure out how you make money, how you reach people in a way that can resonate. Does this resonate with you? Does this resonate with you? And the machine likes that because machines are mostly dumb. And so if you look at one photo, it's what about this photo? What about this photo? It's almost like an instant wave that you can ride. So my answer is a little different.
And before Derek goes, just to follow up on that, because you've built some of the biggest meme accounts on existing platforms like Instagram today. And so I think what you're saying is like monetization comes from using it as a distribution platform in a sense.
Yeah, you're selling the distribution. You're not selling the underlying meme. You're selling the audience, right?
Right.
You're selling eyeballs, attention, energy.
And now we're just tokenizing attention.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on that for a minute. Yeah, to me, like memes are just functionally ideas, right? Like we've always had ideas about things. The US dollar, it's backed by gold up until the 70s, and so that has value for that reason. Or this bottle of water is the only one I see in front of me, and so there's some value I can connote to this bottle of water that I'm willing to pay for it. And I think about what memes are, they're really just, or at least memes on blockchains, these are just idea markets, functionally. Except now these ideas can travel around the internet 24/7 on this global ledger that can be priced by the entire world. So we're really just taking these idea of pricing ideas, which we've always done, putting it on a distributed ledger and allowing markets to form around them. And those markets can be for things that are valuable, like a stable coin. It could be things like crypto art. They could be, fixed supply assets like Bitcoin. It could be a picture of a dog. We're really just like taking those same core ingredients, putting it on a blockchain and letting the market price it in real time. That's how I see these things.
You say that actually, I'm a member of Pleaser DAO and we actually bought the Doge meme for a couple million a few years ago for the NFT. So from what you're saying, this whole idea of memes and meme coin being like shared internet jokes that have always existed, or the internet at least made it for a wider global audience, how does it become like, when you tokenize it, going from a shared internet joke, a meme coin, to a legitimate financial asset?
Yeah.
Or will it ever become a legitimate financial asset?
I'll jump in first and I'll keep it quick. To me, there is some non-zero value to putting a picture on a blockchain and letting a market form around it. And if you believe that there's some non-zero value, then maybe that value is $1. Maybe it's $100 million. I think us on the stage, like collectively, we can't determine that. But I think what a global market is able to do is like radically reprice this thing in real time based on some fundamental value that the aggregate world believes this thing should be valued at. And I would hate to like handicap or cap a price to what these memes can look like in the future, but I think, Chris, you mentioned like Bitcoin was originally a meme. It's now got a multi-trillion-dollar market cap. Dogecoin has been around for a long time. I think it's something like a $30 or $25 billion market cap. I think what we're seeing now is just like this new breed of mimetic objects that can be priced by the market. Some of them are probably worth $1. Some of them are probably worth $500 million, but I think that's up for the global market to decide.
Yeah, and I think it's going to also come down to when will there be a market on the other side that accepts those assets in exchange for other goods as well. I think it was like Dallas Mavericks and a few other organizations have accepted Dogecoin as a payment method. So I think right now, a lot of what I'm seeing, at least on the meme coin side, is super volatile and probably doesn't necessarily translate as a currency of some sort. But over time, if it does stabilize, or a certain asset does stabilize, and merchants see the value in saying, okay, we want to allow for the exchange of those assets for our goods as well, then I think, yes, you will start to see some settling out of what could translate to become some sort of a securitized asset.
Yeah. Sorry, Liz.
Yeah, with Rhett too, I'm so curious because like most memes don't start with a liquidity pool of $250,000 or whatever these meme coins are starting at, right? That's a really big business. And I'm curious from Rhett, because Turbo you tried to do it with $69 the first time and then crowdfunded a bit of liquidity. And that's like a network effect that you have with a lot of the meme pages. It's not, you just post it and then the algorithm just blesses you and makes you go viral. It's really about the first few people who share. So that first few people who are staking before the coin launches are incredibly important, and they're generating this economy for more meme coins, which I think is the point as far as diversification of the tokens is the point, because it's testing infrastructure and how big the buyer market is, like Chris said. But like an artist or a celebrity isn't going to have the access to be able to have the staking of the liquidity pool in order to launch something in a way that's going to feel valuable, because they're used to dealing with millions and billions of views normally. And when 30,000 people show up, they're like, this was a failure. Why did you make me do this? So I'm just like very curious.
That's a good point. Like the celebrities coming in, trying to monetize or tokenize their value, they're going to. But for me, the organic nature of the way things spread is really important. I love watching that. And when I first launched, we had 50 people buy into the idea. And over time, I watched it grow. But the idea of the speculation, the volatility around what's this worth, what's a picture of a dog worth, what's this meme worth, what's that worth, Turbo was embraced as a means of exchange really quickly because we're about AI, art, and community. And lots of platforms said we'll accept Turbo as a currency to buy people's art. But really, I don't think it even needs that. I don't think that's the measure of success. You're just tokenizing an idea. And that's all it is. If that's all people want to do, I just want to have a piece of this idea and say that I own it, like an NFT is fractionalized, then that could be the value that's there. It's still an experiment, and that's what I'm here for, the experimentation. So initially when it launched, it was only worth what those 50 people were willing to spend on it, and now it's only worth what 20 to 30,000 people are willing to spend on it. The market decides what the value of the idea is, not the celebrity thinking it should be valued at several million. I don't determine. And for Turbo specifically, I gave away all the rights because some of these memes, they're co-opted. You don't know the teams behind them. They're trading on the value of a meme that already existed that they didn't own. So this one, I wanted to make sure in a permissionless Web3 style, I was like, it's public domain. The mascot, you're free to use it however you like. This will truly determine how organic the value of this meme is. Yeah. How strong is this idea? Everyone can decide because they can now partake in it freely.
There's two things in there, two questions I want to come back to pull on. The first one being, and today there's a lot of conversations about regulation and how do you regulate crypto assets in general, because they behave not like any asset class we've known before. In some ways they behave like securities, in some way they behave like currencies, but even just in your answers in this discussion, in some ways you're buying into a meme thinking that it'll have even larger cultural significance in the future and go up in price. And so there's an argument of maybe do we regulate these someday as unregistered securities? But to what you're saying of people accepting Turbo as currency, and to your point, Chris, of Doge being accepted as currency in some places, it's almost like the ultimate brand marketing partnership stance to say that you are trying to attract the values of that meme token holding community by offering like an olive branch to that community in a really like on-chain native way to say, we like what the ethos of this meme coin is about, and so we will accept it as payment or as currency into something is just a way to hyper-target an entire group. For you guys as sort of creators, advisors, investors, like where do you see it going from just what meme coins even are?
One aspect of that, though, is that it doesn't have to be a financial exchange. I think to that idea of it's an idea that people are attracted to and want to have represent them, that with which they are taking that asset into doesn't necessarily have to mean that, because I hold this particular asset, I now get X dollars or X crypto or some monetary value in exchange. It could just simply be that you're getting, if you think about it as like a rewards program of sorts, you're getting a certain acknowledgement or you're leveling up in line, or it could be any number of intangibles. And to me, that's where it starts to go more mass market. It doesn't have to be this like really niche thing that is only if you understand the crypto markets or the meme coin markets. I think it can go much more broadly commercial beyond that.
Yeah, I have a lot of meandering thoughts on this, and I would say my conviction level on all of these thoughts is probably like 30%. So take all of this with a grain of salt. But I think where I net out is I have a very a very permissive view on what constitutes a meme token, and I think it's because I have such a permissive view of what constitutes a meme. Like I really do believe memes at their core, if I'm being super reductive, it's really a collective understanding of ideas around something, right?
Yeah.
And that could be around a stock, which pays dividends. It could be around a commodity, which you use in a public market to exchange goods and services. It could be functionally like a piece of art, right? Like we have a shared collective understanding of who Van Gogh is. And so it's why his secondary market for his work continues to trade in the tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So if at their core, I think we may be too restrictive by saying like meme tokens are just the Iggy Azalea token that launched last night. I don't know if that's right. I like to think that blockchains are just a tool that can capture tokenized ideas, and those ideas can be optimized for different directions over time. Maybe they optimize for commodity money. So there's only 21 million of them. They're fairly launched. Miners secure the network, and that's why this thing has value as commodity money like Bitcoin. Or that token could be used to bootstrap a community of people that want to build Uniswap. Or it could be a one-of-one Doge NFT or a CryptoPunk. To me, these are just tokenized ideas, and they're being priced by a global market, and they're optimizing for wildly different outcomes. And if you believe that's true, then I think it's all memes. I know that's reductive, but we're all just pricing memes constantly. This is a meme. We're all memes. Anyway, those are my...
I've always considered Bitcoin a work of art. I don't know if other people have, but I have, and I've always thought its value will appreciate as such. Just like ideas in art spread, and the value of that art increases based on how much it spreads.
Yeah.
And there's an art critic that posted yesterday, resonated with me, Jerry Saltz. He said, art is stronger than you. It makes you do what it wants. And that reminds me of like when I create an artwork, I put it out there, it no longer belongs to me. It's up to other people to interpret if they love it or hate it or how valuable it is or not. It's your baby, you put it out there, it does its own thing.
Yeah.
I think that way about memes a lot, because when you think about great artworks, why are they great? It's their virality, their mematic sort of themes that, yeah. So,
yeah, actually, that's the sort of the second thread I wanted to pull on that exact thing. You mentioned Iggy Azalea as an artist who just launched her own meme coin, I think yesterday, was it, Derek? And so she's launching her own meme coin based on her own sort of fandom and her own community. Although we've seen a lot of meme coins spring up in the last couple of months of Trump and Bowden, and essentially meme coins being launched about, I think there probably is, if not soon, a Taylor Swift token meme coin. And so where do you, and maybe Liz, to you on the IP side, and to Chris, working with so many celebrities and so much talent, should we regulate that? Where do we draw the line between meme coin launched about an idea that's not yours, and then the community decided we want to speculate, invest, have a sort of financialization glue to our fandom, and so the community launches it? Sort of, how do you think about either where that is now or where that might head?
Yeah, a few things. Like if you launch a coin of a celebrity that you don't know and you make money, you violate their publicity rights, the right to publicity. So you do get in trouble. So I do think it's interesting more from my end of you didn't know how to code, and then you used AI to make the smart contract, essentially open sourced it, and also made money from it, which is entirely new from the open source movement we've seen before. It used to be like free internet or ad with ads, or paid for services that are subscriptions. And so what you start to see is like artists using tools to build products because they have the consumer insights. You were already making art in NFT world. The 50 people didn't just fall out of the sky. So to me, it's that part is interesting, and really talent and distribution are just accelerants to that. But other than that, unless they're like using the tools differently, I don't think it necessarily needs to be a long game. If I can just get rich in 15 minutes, that would be ideal. The fact, okay, let's hurry this up. Like, why do we have to do 10 years out? Leave that to venture capital. And then meme coins is more speculative. If you've ever tried to create a phantom wallet or buy a meme coin, it's not something that
everyone can do today.
Has the patience and time to do. There is that hurdle beyond regulatory, obviously, but borderless, permissionless, instant payment rails, no matter what the chain is always going to be combative to an Instagram and to a TikTok and to a Twitter and to a YouTube. It's going to put pressure on them to figure out payments quickly, beyond Stripe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you touched on it, Liz. There's definitely a bright line with intellectual property that is protected and registered. Certainly people's likeness, when taken directly without their permission, is obviously a violation of, and there are protections around that today. It is blurring, though. There are things that are going to, Derek, to the point about ideas, which you touch on as well. There are ideas that are adjacent to someone's likeness or their intellectual property, and I think there can be an argument that is fair game to play with. The question is, how close to that line do you want to go? And we, just before the panel, we were talking a little bit about, on the AI side, how we're starting to see some conversations that are regulatory in nature around the protection of data, and whether or not that's name, image, likeness data, intellectual property data, to train these AI models. There's infringements that are going to get regulated and litigated. And I think adjacently into this space, I think there will be some rules that come down that start to create some clarity for people as it relates to memes and how close you can come up to that intellectual property line.
Yeah. I wonder, I think we are nearly at time, but a forward-looking question, because in some ways, as we talked about at the beginning of the panel, memes and the financialization of them is not fundamentally new. And you're even seeing some traditional equities behave more like meme coins with Trump's new media stock, GME famously. And in a world where what blockchain technology essentially gets you is like the tokenization of everything, and therefore the marketization of everything, and then the financialization of everything. What does that look like in the future as we tokenize and then financialize culture in a whole new way? What does that look like 5-10 years from now? And if you wanted to pass a moral judgment of it, feel free.
I won't pass a moral judgment on this, but I'll just say that having been in the space a while, and the way I think about investing is like, this is incredibly neutral architecture, right? It's a design space, it's permissionless, anybody can build anything they want on it. To that point, I think like it's unquestionable to me that if it can be tokenized, it probably will be by someone on the internet. I think I will also say 99% of the stuff that gets thrown on blockchains, whether it's a protocol or an object or a meme token, it's probably junk, right? It's people trying things out, they're innovating, they're experimenting. And I think what will be true is that people will continue to experiment with this form factor. I think infrastructure may probably get propped up to support it, and some of the experiments may persist, and that I am confident of. Now, will Bowden and Trump and these things be trading at hundreds of millions of dollars in the future? I can't sit here and say that's true, but I do think that there's enough here and enough behavior from humans that want to participate in this for me to feel confident enough that it will continue on as a category.
Yeah, and there's an element of it that's just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think the key too is like audiences and volume as a metric is not the best metric overall as far as most followers. We didn't need 300 million followers, right? We just needed a really loyal 20% of that to sell ads against, right? So you're going to see a pullback in like more specialty, closer audiences that you can build with your friends, with each other because of these network effects. Even having, I'm curious, like, why do you think those 50 people crowdfunded that? Was it GoFundMe style? They felt bad for you or what?
Wait.
Starving artist?
Yeah, what is your...
Yeah, there's an underlying value that I created being a crypto artist in the space. I've got a YouTube channel, I'm an educator in crypto, so I've built that up over time so that 50 people trusted me enough to put in a couple of $100 each. It's not that much trust, but they trusted that enough. Yeah, but I think in terms of like price action or popularity, sentiment follows price action or popularity sometimes, and sometimes the popularity follows the sentiment. So the underlying value of that idea or whatever it is always there, but then it can get propped up because thousands of people come to it. Now we've got 25,000 holders. People are like, what's the value here? Why are people buying this? Why? And they come, they see the value and, oh, okay, they decide whether it's priced right or if it's underpriced or overpriced. But in terms of like the distribution and the popularity, like I've got a sister who has millions, is an influencer or whatever. She tried to post about NFTs. So tried to help me out when I was doing crypto art. No one came from her audience. Millions of followers, no one came. But I have 50 people who like crypto and like art, they're willing to support that. So you don't have to have millions of followers, you just have to have people who care about the small little thing that you're making.
Interesting. Great. I think that's our time. So sorry we didn't get to any audience questions, but our wonderful panelists will probably be at the back of the stage after this. And thank you all for coming.